There are moments in sports where you can feel the entire landscape shift, even before anyone says a word. And if you've been paying attention to the WNBA over the last few months, you probably felt it too, in the tension around the league, in the negotiation drama, in the sudden rush of unexpected headlines, and in the way players openly started questioning the future of women's basketball. Something was building, and now, the moment has finally arrived. The WNBA has officially put a massive new offer on the table. Not a small adjustment, not a symbolic gesture, a massive leap. The kind of move that forces everyone to stop and reconsider what the league stands for, what it can become, and what it's willing to risk to protect its future. Because for the first time ever, the WNBA is proposing a max salary that crosses the $1 million mark. It's a number everyone is talking about, and honestly, it's the number the league hopes will calm the storm. But the story behind this proposal is bigger, messier, and a lot more revealing than that seven-figure headline. This wasn't a pay bump for good PR. This wasn't a pat on the back for the players. This was the WNBA going all in, try to save itself from a threat it never expected, and try and convince players that the league they build is worth staying loyal to. But here's the twist. For a lot of players, especially the league's biggest names, this offer doesn't make things easier. It makes everything more complicated. Because when one league is offering over $1 million and another league is offering $2 million, suddenly, loyalty becomes a lot more expensive. And that's where this story really begins. For years, the WNBA salary structure was predictable. The numbers might climb slowly, but no one expected anything wild. The Supermax projections for 2025 were landing somewhere between $850,000 and $1 million, depending on who you asked. $1 million max felt huge. It felt symbolic. It felt like a milestone the league would reach only after long negotiations and careful financial planning. But the WNBA didn't just match the predictions, it surpassed them. The league added another $100,000 on top of the expected Supermax and raised the minimum salary to more than $220,000. That minimum alone is life-changing for dozens of players who were barely earning enough to treat basketball like a full-time career. And then came the bombshell. The new league average salary would rise to over $460,000 a year. For context, that's nearly twice what the average player is making and some of the rival league's players have been considering. It's a stunning jump. And on its own, it paints the WNBA as forward-thinking, determined, and finally ready to invest at a scale fans have been begging to see for years. The league didn't just raise the salaries at the top. It raised them across the board. This wasn't a top-heavy deal that rewarded superstars, while everyone else stayed stuck. It was a structural overhaul, the kind of change that makes players feel valued at every level of the roster. But money alone never tells a full story. Because if it did, these negotiations would have ended months ago. To understand why things became so tense, and why this $1 million offer carries so much weight, you have to look at what happened 6 weeks ago. Out of nowhere, a brand new league called Project B appeared with deep pockets and a bold mission. And the moment its details leaked, the WNBA's world flipped upside down. Project B wasn't offering symbolic raises or long-term promises. It was offering cash, blunt, unapologetic, eye-popping money. Reports said the minimum salary would be around $2 million, and that some top stars were being offered even more. And then came the moment that changed the fight entirely. WNBA staples, true franchise-level players, started signing. Nneka Ogwumike, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquel Jones, Jewell Loyd. These weren't rookies or reserves. These were veterans, MVP candidates, and cornerstone stars trusted to carry the league. And their departure sent the strongest message possible. The WNBA's financial system was now officially being challenged by someone who could compete. Suddenly, every player who had ever said, "We deserve better," realized they finally had leverage. The WNBA couldn't ignore it. Media couldn't spin it away. Fans couldn't pretend it was no big deal. The moment those signatures hit the paper, everything the WNBA had planned for 2025, expansion, scheduling, marketing, sponsorship deals, got shoved into a holding pattern. Because if more players walked, the league would lose the foundation it had been building for decades. That's when negotiations got tense. Behind closed doors, things became heated. Both sides exchanged public statements that hinted at the frustration building beneath the surface. The players wanted security. They wanted upward mobility. They wanted proof that the league saw them as long-term investments, not replaceable pieces. The WNBA wanted stability, too, but it also had to be realistic. It couldn't simply match Project B's numbers. If it did, the league would collapse financially. The revenue structure, the TV deals, the sponsorship agreements, none of it could support 8-figure salaries. And everyone knew it. So the WNBA did the only thing it could. It made the strongest offer within its financial reality. $1 million max, a $220,000 minimum, a $460,000 average. Guaranteed increases over the life of the CBA. A reworked revenue sharing model. It wasn't Project B money, but it was stability. It was growth. It was a long-term, sustainable path, not a short-term financial flash. The offer mattered, but the timing mattered more, because the CBA expiration date was closing in. October 31st was supposed to be the hard deadline, but talks grew so intense that the league extended negotiations to November 30th. And until the deal gets finalized, expansion plans for Toronto and Portland are on ice. Everything is waiting. Everything is paused. Everything depends on these talks. And that's why the WNBA's offer is so much more than a salary number. It's a message, one meant to convince players that the future of the league is worth fighting for. But let's be honest about something. The $1 million max didn't land in a vacuum. It landed in a league that is more dependent on star power than ever before. And no star has reshaped the business of the WNBA more dramatically than Caitlin Clark. Whether people love her, criticize her, or debate her impact, no one can deny her influence. And owners felt it when she got injured earlier in the season. Ratings stayed surprisingly strong while she was out, but only because fans assumed she'd return soon. That's not normal star power. That's a cultural phenomenon. And owners took notice. When players negotiate, the league always looks at potential risks. And one of the biggest questions hovering over these talks wasn't just how much should we pay? It was, what happens if Caitlin Clark misses significant time again? That's not a reflection on her. It's a reflection on how much the league depends on her presence, her storylines, her highlights, and her ability to bring in new fans. Her impact influenced everything, even if she wasn't sitting at the bargaining table. Players see that, too. They know their value. They see their jerseys selling out. They see YouTube channels explode with WNBA content. They see sold-out arenas in cities that used to struggle with attendance. And once you see the numbers, it becomes hard to accept the old financial standards. That's the context behind this $1 million offer. It's not a gift. It's not a favor. It's recognition. Recognition that the sport has outgrown the salary structure built 20 years ago. Recognition that Project B Exposed holds the WNBA could no longer ignore. Recognition that players want respect, financial security, and long-term stability, not promises that things might get better eventually. The offer is the league's way of saying, we hear you, we see you, we're willing to meet you halfway. The question is whether halfway is enough. Another part of this story that fans don't always consider is the long-term picture. Project B can offer massive salaries today, but it doesn't have the responsibilities the WNBA does. It doesn't have to support 15 markets. It doesn't have to balance a decades-old financial model. It doesn't have to tie itself to existing TV contracts or expansion requirements. It's new, it's agile, and it's built for splashy headlines. But new leagues also come with uncertainty. They come with shorter timelines. Their financial model relies on maintaining interest quickly and continuously in a saturated sports landscape. If interest drops or investors quiet down, things can shift fast. And players know that, too. That's why this negotiation isn't as simple as money. It's about stability versus opportunity, known versus unknown, tradition versus revolution. Some players want the guaranteed structure of the WNBA. Others want the financial leap offered by Project B. Neither side is wrong. Neither side is foolish. They just represent two different visions for the future of women's basketball. And that's exactly why this moment is so fascinating. When you look at the WNBA's new proposal, you can see that the league isn't holding back. It's not inching forward slowly like it has in past CBAs. It's leaping forward as far as its finances will allow. It's raising salaries in year one. It's guaranteeing growth over the entire CBA. It's sending the strongest signal the league has ever sent that it's ready to grow with its players, not against them. But then you look at Project B, with its $2 million minimum and star signings already locked in, and you realize the WNBA is in a race, not for survival, but for loyalty, for trust, for belief. And players finally have options, real options, powerful options, options that didn't exist 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago. The truth is, this $1 million offer might not end the debate. It might not convince every player. It might not stop Project B from poaching more stars, but it shifts the balance. It forces players to make a real choice, not between the WNBA we've always known and the hypothetical future, but between two legitimate paths. Both paths come with risks. Both paths come with rewards. Both paths will shape the sport for years. But no matter what players choose, the impact is already here. Salaries are up, attention is up, bargaining power is up, and the WNBA is more relevant than at any other point in its history. Whether this new offer works or not, it proves one thing: women's basketball is finally in demand. And when a sport becomes valuable, its athletes become powerful. The WNBA didn't hand players that power. Players earned it. Fans amplified it. And leagues like Project B exposed just how much the world is willing to invest in them. This $1 million offer is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of the next chapter. Because for the first time ever, players aren't asking the league for change. They're deciding the terms themselves.